back in 2001, you said this to your staff. You said, "We don't make music, we make stars." Why did you say that? What were you driving at there?
I mean, I have to confess that it wasn't because I was smart. It was just because I was forced to. 80% of Korean computers were high-speed cable connected. So when the Napster type of programs came out, it hit Korea the most fastest and most severely. So we lost 90% of the physical CD market. So I had no choice but to change our business model. So, okay, now when everything's turning digital, where should I go? So my thought was, what's the most analog thing in the world? Is human being. So no matter what happens on the way how we distribute music, the fact that we need a star would never change. So that was my safest bet, to concentrate on the human beings. So I got all my employees in the auditorium and said, okay, from today, we don't make music, we make stars. So our final product is not music, but human beings. As soon as I changed my model towards human, the most important thing was to find the right talents. So first, my key thing was, of course, they have to sing and dance well and act well and has to be attractive and has to star quality. But I wanted to find a global appeal in every artist so I could expand my market outside of Asia. So we traveled 9 different countries doing auditions.
Tell us a little bit more about this whole kind of, artist development. I mean, we hear a lot about too much kind of short-termism these days, but I mean, your approach is really long-term, isn't it? Especially with the whole academy.
Yes. The biggest 2 stars that came out of my company is Rain and Wonder Girls. And Rain was trained for 4 years, just training, before his first debut. And Wonder Girls were trained 7 years. And what were they trained? First, at least minimum 2 languages. And singing, dancing, acting, and of course personality. And depending on the lot of dance artists who dance and perform, we even teach acrobatics, gymnastics, basically.
And tell us a little bit more about, specifically with Rain and Wonder Girls and how they sort of work with brands.
Rain, we launched him as a singer first. He was very popular as a singer, and then we had a TV series ready for him. So as soon as he got popular, he moved on to a TV miniseries, and then that TV miniseries was the maybe top 3 most watched TV series ever in Asian history, called Full House. So he became a star in all over Asia. His album was #1 in 8 different countries, and that's when I said, okay, now we're going to the States. And Wonder Girls, they speak 3 languages, so it took us 7 years to prepare before they debut. So they speak Mandarin, Korean, and English. It hasn't even been 2 years. It's next month. It's going to be 2 years since they debuted, but they got picked as 8 girl groups to watch by Virgin Media. They had 3 #1 albums, and now we're preparing their TV show for the US.
And the Chinese market, that's going to be a big one for them in particular?
Of course. I mean, Chinese market is not copyright protected that well, but as long as the human beings travel, which is concerts, tours, it's the biggest revenue, one of the biggest revenue sources in the world. And also endorsement deals in China.
Let's just move it on now and talk a little bit more about digital specifically as well, because that's one of the main focuses of this conference, and where your actual digital revenues are coming from.
Currently, the biggest 2 digital incomes, 60% of digital income comes from mobile sales,
right,
which is cell phones, basically ringtones, ringback tones, and about 40% of digital revenue comes from internet streaming. Yep. Basically, streaming is playing a role that radio is playing.
So the whole sort of ownership thing, is that kind of going away, really? The idea of owning music in Korea, is that just not so important now? For instance, the concepts of CDs and CD albums, it's not happening anymore, is it? It's
basically in Korea, we lost 90% of the physical CD market, but fortunately, the digital
90%.
90 is gone.
Yeah.
So basically, everything's gone. So even till now, like, you know, American record label owners would say like, oh, how much did the Wonder Girls, how much albums did they sell? And I don't know what to answer because we never made an album. So the conversation ends right there. But basically now what we're in is that we make this thing called mini albums, which only have 3 songs. But nobody buys it to have music. They already have the music through digitally. They're buying it because it's more like a souvenir for the fans. So it has like a huge section of a photo book. So it's more like a souvenir and a photo book for the fans to have. So nobody buys it for the music.
And the release cycle for that would be what?
Release cycle is usually 3-4 months. You know how like it takes 2-3 years to make an album, but now everything's turning way faster.
Yeah.
So the circulation for the artists to release their new materials are getting really, really faster because all you need is 3-4 songs to release a new mini album.
And every sort of 3-4 months.
Usually singers release 2 a year, and people who spend 3-4 years off and then coming back, it's not working that well anymore.
And a lot of those fans will already have bought that music anyway. They'll own that music, so it's more about the whole kind of thing.
Nobody gets music from this actual CD. It's just for their souvenirs and in different functions, like a photo book or a calendar or...
So, you know, the big question, obviously, that we're all thinking is kind of, is this our future? And when I say our, you know, I'm meaning kind of, you know, UK, Europe, US kind of focus. I mean, is this where everywhere is going to be headed? Is it going to be the same everywhere? Do you represent I think you introduce yourself as the man from the future, don't you? You like to do that. Is it the same for us?
I hear American people and European people say, but good albums still sells. Yeah, I definitely understand. I'm really doubtful if you guys can say that after 5 years when internet high-speed penetration rate go over 70%, then nobody's gonna ever say that again. In Korea, when internet penetration rate was like 50%, they used to say, yeah, good album still sells. But when it went over 70, 80, that sentence disappeared. But it's just too inconvenient for the customers. So everything's moving towards what customers are comfortable. Customers don't want to be forced to buy 12 songs. It's just uncomfortable and inconvenient for the customers. So, yeah, when the internet penetration rate, high-speed penetration rate goes over 70%, the CD market is going to be over, and it's going to be very convenient for the fans to purchase just one song easily off of digital from their computer, which is very convenient. Nothing can beat the convenience of a customer.